start us off? Go for it.
Gavin, how's it going?
Good, how you doing?
Thanks. When we first spoke to you, you were still pretty new here. I guess now that you've gotten some time to acclimate, what are your thoughts of the offense been? How's that kind of stood out to you the first few days of practice?
Yeah, it's been great. Being here over the summer, just getting to know the guys, getting to bond with the coaches, getting to know the offense. I love the schemes. I love what Coach Malzahn's doing. I love the guys, the way they work, the way they compete. There's truly a drive in the sense of desperation to be great. So we're just continuing to try and build that and build on that so that we can be great this season.
Corey?
Without being in pads, you being a physical runner, this is supposed to be a downhill physical running attack. What is accomplished for you guys in that role in the last 2 days when you're not in pads? What are you guys trying to accomplish?
Yeah, it's hard for everybody, honestly, without pads. That's real football with pads, but still getting the opportunity to get out there and get moving, kind of get your feet back up underneath you, get back into the rhythm of things, start learn how the tempo of practice is going to be, establish some of those key factors. It's crucial before you get the pads on, so that when you get the pads on, you're ready to go, you're flying around, you know what you're going to do. So just being able to establish that, get ready for that, understand what the coaches expect, what's the expectations, what the standards that we're upholding, and then when we get pads on, just continue to improve on that.
How excited are you with pads?
Oh yeah, I'm really excited. That's the best part. Go through the whole summer just running and lifting and doing gassers, and you just all you want to be here is play football. So finally the time to get the pads on and really do what you do and be able to compete. It's exciting.
What stood out to you about the whole entire group of running backs? I guess personality standpoint, and now you got some kind of football skills you've been able to just show the last few days from a skill set perspective as well.
Yeah, they're all really talented. Rowe's he's a great back. He's a smart guy, old vet. He knows what he's doing. He's pro, do everything right. Same with Keziah, same thing. Cam's doing well. For being as young as he is. He was thrown into a role last year, but he's continuing to show that maturity and being able to step up. And same thing with Ousmane. Ousmane is doing great. Excited to see him. He's doing well as a freshman. I wasn't anywhere near there my freshman year. I was tripping over myself, but he's doing great. He's attacking everything. And same with all the other running backs. Zay's doing great. JJ, all those guys. Sam. It's exciting to be in that room. It's a competitive room. A lot of depth. So we're all pushing each other, all trying to help each other become better, and it's great to be a part of.
Liam?
In a scheme like this that is so run heavy, how important is it when you're out there knowing that the guys behind you have the ability to come in if needed to kind of spark something for you guys?
Yeah, it's really putting that selfish side behind you and really thinking about the team. The team you want to win, and whoever that is out there on the field, needs to be able to execute and be able to do that. That's what we want to see. We want to see whoever's out there. The standards up here, it doesn't drop when somebody else comes in. It's got to stay up there. So, having that depth and having everybody, I'm not just selfish and working on myself. We're pushing everybody. We're pushing everybody to get to that level, get to that standard. If something happens, God forbid someone goes down, or even we're subbing in players. That's pretty realistic as well. So, having those guys and having that depth is crucial.
Chris?
What is it that ultimately appealed to you about Gus Malzahn run offense?
Yeah, I played against his offense when I was at Oklahoma at UCF, and it's exciting. It's big explosive plays, downhill running. I love the inside zone. I love the creativity too. He's willing to attack the field everywhere on the field. Run the ball, deep threats, quick game, whatever it is. He's willing to attack it. So having that versatility and being able to do all those things, it's been great.
Anything else for Gavin?
Do you have a feeling at all about whether or not Coach Malzahn wants at some point to have like a guy he can rely on, and just somebody can fill possibly the role of being like the guy, or is this always going to be a by committee kind of approach? Do you feel?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm sure all coaches want that guy, that they can rely on and trust, but I don't think it hurts having multiple guys, 2, 3 guys, whatever it is, that you can trust. It makes their job hard, but it also makes it easy, because they can trust and they know whoever's out there is going to get the job done. It's just a matter of putting those people in the right places. So, and that's really what fall camp's about, being able to see who's taking those next steps and, be able to compete and see who's that guy that you can trust, or, who are those guys that you can trust, or whatever it may be.
Nick?
Yeah, obviously you have the team goals, the team aspirations, right? Do you have any personal aspirations or improvements that you want to see from yourself this year?
Yeah, definitely. Just continuing to grow in all aspects of my game. One thing I love about Coach Malzahn, getting the running back involved in the passing game. So being able to be, you know, versatile in that, you know, continuing to be physical, running the ball, blocking, whatever it is, and really just being, you know, whatever I need to be for the team. You know, coming in off the summer, I didn't have spring ball to, you know, kind of do it. So just coming in, competing, you know, taking every rep, taking every opportunity that I can get, you know, trying to fit in wherever I can.
Malzahn?
Did you look at all about who's gonna play offensive line here when you made your decision? And I guess what's been your impression of those guys up front, Coach Kromah?
Yeah, so I saw a lot of those guys when I came here on the visit. Coach Malzahn showed me some of their film, and you know, from the schools they transferred from, and you know, so far they've been great. It's a veteran group up there. You know, they know what they're doing. You know, they communicate well, and that's really the big thing for O-line is, you know, to be able to communicate and mesh well. They all have to be on the same page, because a lot of times, you know, fronts are changing, defense is changing, so you know, they got to be able to think all on the same page like that. So you know, having that group and having those, you know, older guys, those vets that, you know, understand the game and do it, you know, they're doing well. And you know, there's a lot of talent, depth as well. And you know, those older guys are teaching some of those younger guys, bringing them along, you know, adding to that depth factor. But you know, it's been great. They've been great so far.
Matt?
You said Ousmane was way ahead when you were a freshman. What does he do that makes him ahead? Is it like how he is physically, or is it how he is in the film room, combination of all that?
Yeah, definitely. You know, physically stands out for sure. I think he's like around 220. I was like 180, 190 coming in, so you know, I was a little light. But you know, he's just a physical player. You know, he's fast. You know, he trusts himself. He goes out there and you know, he attacks everything. You know, he's not. You know, usually you see freshmen kind of, you know, hesitant and kind of, you know, backing off. But you know, he's going out there and attacking. He's going out there and, you know, trying to get what he can get. So you know, that's been impressive. You know, he still, you know, of course, has some things to work on, but he's growing for sure.
Anything else? Awesome.